Greetings, I am Erin Patton, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patton, also known as Master L, and welcome to today's live episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast. We are live across social media on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And I am just so happy to be here with all of you today, as usual. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Also, follow me on social media. And if you feel so called, definitely share this video with a friend. Leave me a comment, shoot me a DM. I'd love to know how this message resonates with you. Because as I always say, the collective needs this message, these messages, this information, so that we can continue to rise higher and be our best selves, enjoy our lives. And I am coming off of a trip to New York City. And I was in New York last week for a few days, hanging out with friends, getting my hair did, just like doing, errand stuff. And interestingly enough, I was able to go back to my first job. And this is the Meta Business Millennial. So I want to talk about some of these stories too with y'all that I haven't shared. My first full-time job in New York was at Bergdorf Goodman, which is a high-end luxury goods department store. And I was working in personal shopping. And it was interesting because I had an unfortunate scenario where I fell out of, I shouldn't say fell out, but I was just trying to get to the next level in my career there. I was already there for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I was trying to just continue to grow. And there really wasn't any space for me to grow in the company, either be a salesperson or go to the office. It was a very small corporate office. And I was heartbroken, to say the least, when I had to move on. And I ended up going to Lord & Taylor and doing really well with their e-commerce group. But I had not stepped foot in Bergdorf Goodman since I quit, since I left the company. And it was just such a, I would say, healing experience, like nostalgic experience. It was just really beautiful. I shed tears because one of the women who I used to assist in personal shopping, Betty Hallbrick, passed away recently. She was like in her 90s and was one of the founders of personal shopping in New York at Bergdorf Goodman. And so it was just, and then I got to see the woman who I work with day in and day out, Sherry Schmeltzer. And it was just like a homecoming for real. Like it felt like a homecoming. And interestingly enough, like me and Sherry always like had great conversation. And that's why she's so successful, is because she has an ability to really communicate well with her clients and people. And the first thing she asked me was, "So Erin, what do you think about Diddy?" And I was like, and then she was like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." But it was funny that she asked me because later on in the week, I talked about it with other people. And of course, it's all over social media and the news. And I generally don't speak directly to trending topics yet. This may be changing because, I also care about some things too that are trending and how it relates to our metaphysical walk and our spiritual walk, because, these things matter. Just put it that way. And so I actually titled today's episode around, remix your business. Diddy was like the remix king, and, in lessons that we can learn from his missteps. And this is not at all going to be an attack on him or, even his actions, because as we learn on the spiritual walk and on the metaphysical path, that everyone, despite their seemingly evil doings or angelic doings, is on a path back to source, is on a path back to God. And this is something too that, it's taken me years to get to this point, but I always had grace and understanding and forgiveness in my heart for people who I felt like were maybe not doing always the right things. But for this particular scenario, I believe that there is a lot of split, because it's kind of like the Michael Jackson thing. Everyone is so endeared and loving these people because of what they represent in the public sphere. But when we hear about what's happening in their private lives, either we want to turn a blind eye, or we want to deny, or we want to vilify. Those are generally the categories. And I want to offer a, a fourth perspective, and that's being curious about what was going on, getting curious about what was going on, and what can we actually learn what not to do in these scenarios, particularly when you have a lot of power, when you are influenced by things like money and sex and drugs. How do you really show up in those scenarios? And I don't think everyone could really honestly answer that question without being confronted with these things. And this is the piece too that I want to start to dig into, is around this neutrality, and looking at the situation and what we can really learn. So let's just kind of start that with that and ground in that. And I see some of you guys coming in the room. Thank you so much for showing up, because I really think that today's topic is going to be so juicy, because Diddy has been accused of some very malicious things, and also, perverted things and violent things. And, everything from being involved with Tupac and Biggie's assassinations, if you will, murders, and or, homosexual acts with non-consenting people, and or consenting people under the influence of heavy drugs. And then, of course, with poor Cassie and Dawn and other women, likely Kim Porter, abuse, physical abuse, and pimping and prostitution. So all of that, on the table, let's really look at the circumstances. Because when we're seeing someone who's coming up in an industry that actually rewards and glorifies violent behavior, pimp behavior, all of the above, then we have to also kind of take his actions and his lifestyle, with a grain of salt. Like, is it art imitating life, or is it his life actually being a reflection of his art? And so I really want us to start to kind of just like sit with that and really start to look at what is it that we're ingesting in our music, and what is it that we've accepted in our music. And I'm not at all, again, coming at it from a judgmental point of view, yet these are the topics of so many hit records, of so many hit songs, pimping hoes, fucking on bitches. Like, I'm literally quoting, like, these are real lyrics. And so these are aspects of our lives, many times like everyday lives, where we're driving to work listening to these music, or we're going out at night listening to this music. And these essentially become our energies, our vibrations. So when we're talking about judging other people and their past and their actions, yet we're ingesting that which they're putting out into the world and consuming it like every day, we have to start to really look at ourselves. As with everything on this metaphysical walk, as with everything in this path that we're on, it always comes back to self. And, there's no casting of stones here when we feel when we're also complicit in the work. And so, really, I want us to to and I'm gonna kind of weave into other aspects too of the music, because I really wanted to get into this too, what I call deadly lyrics. And, we've seen, artists like Rich Homie Quan, we've seen like Fat Man Scoop, we've seen, the party god Beat King, just in the past couple months, who artists, rap artists, hip hop artists who have passed away, in my view, prematurely from what I deem a deadly lifestyle, deadly lyrics. And a lot of this we're seeing played out too with Diddy. And a lot of this we see too in our own culture. And I want to, in many ways, just make us more aware of that which we are engaging ourselves. And I'm coming from a very personal perspective, as I always do, because I am like the hip hop, like queen. Like, I loved growing up with hip hop. I loved, Diddy and the Family, and Biggie and Tupac and Jay-Z. Like, there was not a bigger Jay-Z fan than me for many, many years. Yet as I started to come into this path of awakening and enlightenment, I really start to question not only the lyrics, the deadly lyrics from what I call in these songs, but also the individuals who were creating this work that I was ingesting, and how, what they represented as business people. Because not only are they artists, but they're also executives and leaders and CEOs, and all of which I aspire to be, especially at that time. And when I start to look at the music that I was listening to and how it made me feel, what they were actually saying, then it became really clear that these messages do not serve me. And from there, I've really shifted a lot of that which I listen to on a day-to-day basis. Of course, I have my turn up party twerk playlist, when I have parties and things, but on a day-to-day basis, I love to always be listening to music. I'm really dialing into soul music, or what are EDM, positive, house music, and also lacing it in my for lack of better words, with my own affirmations. So I'm listening to these positive vibe music with my voice layered onto it, instead of someone else's words and someone else's experiences that can in many ways be deadly to you and to your frequency. And the impact of music, the impact of the vibrational frequency of music in your life is it's so powerful, that I hope that you're able to receive this message and at least consider what it is that you take into your consciousness and your ears and your energy field on a day-to-day basis. Because this is exactly, you know, the intent of the music is to keep you in a level of consciousness where you have to be dependent on this society, for lack of better words. And I don't want to get too conspiracy theory with it, but it's a truth. And that the music, the hip hop music, and what we are having today has really been, I would say, the vibrational frequency of it is so low that it really is bringing more harm to us than it is good. And it's really hard to say, and it's really hard to probably hear, but it is a truth in that it's so connected to our culture, particularly the culture of people of color, that we don't want to relinquish it. We're so loyal. We're so loyal to this cultural genre of music that we don't even stop to think about what harm it does to us and what harm it does to our community. And then when you see someone like a Diddy, who is almost like the godfather of it all, and then to peel back the veil and the curtain and to see what kind of human he is, what kind of man that he is in this world, then it even makes it even more hard to sit with and be silent about. And I don't know how much of this resonates with people out there, but I'm just going to keep going with it because it's near and dear to me, and I really know and feel the value in speaking this truth. Even I got a real, last week, about some of the documents that came out in court against him, and the accusations of the affiliations that he had with so many people in the music industry. And, when going back to my Bergdorf Goodman encounter with Sherry, and when she asked me about Diddy, the first thing I said was just like, yeah, it's him, but it's everybody else too. And then, not to just like name names, I'll let those names come out when it's time. But, Diddy's on the headlines now, so it's really easy to kind of throw him out there. But when we're thinking about the landscape of the music business, when we're thinking about the business of it, it absolutely is a culture of hypocrisy, of presenting one way and living and actually being another way. And this is not too dissimilar from other aspects of business and other industries, where people are showing up publicly one way and privately living an entirely different, in some cases, very horrendous lifestyle. And this is actually what inspired me to become the meta business millennial, to become a metaphysical master, and really speak to the ways in which we can do business better, do business more consciously, and be more present in the process. And part of that presence is really stopping to get curious about what it is that I'm seeing in the world, or listening to, or ingesting, or being around, or looking up to. A lot of these figures and these leaders and these celebrities who we've really admired and I'll speak for myself, followed, coveted, envied, all those things for so many years, turn out to be people who I would want nothing to do with, and be nothing like these people. Yet had I not stopped to really to look inwardly about my own values, where I want to go, what I'm listening to, what I'm eating, where I'm going, I would have never questioned their characters. And this even goes into, leaders, like I said, in the music industry and other aspects of business, in politics, where we're really worshiping, in many ways, idolizing. And I talked about this too with Romy on our episode of celebrity culture around identity. We're talking about identity, and we got into celebrity culture because of her background in Hollywood and celebrities. And this is something that I believe is going to continue to unfold for me in conversations, because it is essentially the dawning of the undoing of the celebrity culture, and really the awakening and the unveiling of the man and the woman as we show up authentically. And we can no longer live in dual lives, a life of can't stop, won't stop, and Harlem shaking, and then beating people, killing people behind closed doors. It doesn't make sense. Yet it's happening across the world, across industries, across leadership positions. And it's coming to an end. And I don't even have to force it, or like I said, judge it or demonize it, because it is what it is. And it has been what it has been. And we've allowed it. However, the allowing for me, at least, has completely stopped. And I'm arcing towards a higher future, a higher vision, and a higher being for myself, for other leaders, for other music industry leaders, for other business leaders, for other political leaders, to really be the same motherfucker, be the same person in front of the camera as you are off the camera. It's really that simple. Yet it's really not, it's very difficult to speak your truth, to cry, to be vulnerable, to be angry in front of people, to be happy, to be joyful, to fail, to make mistakes. It's and I want to also get into the sexual aspect of it, because Diddy has always presented as this like heterosexual male. He's had his wife, he's had his cast, he's had these girls, he has children. Yet behind closed doors, he's participating in all these homosexual acts that are in many ways, in my view, predatory. So which one are you? And if you are homosexual, what's wrong with coming out and just and being that? And I think they brought, and in other videos and stuff, I saw them bringing up, conversation around Clive Davis and his relationship with Clive Davis. Yet Clive Davis has been open about his sexuality. Yet so many aren't. And that's the scary part. Why are you hiding? What is there to hide? If this is your truth, then be in that. And, so much of this identity issue, comes from a deep, deep sense of insecurity, whether it's a sexual identity, financial identity, a business identity, a familial identity. It steeps they're very firmly in a security of self, a security of knowing that you're connected to God, knowing that you're connected to source, and that you can show up exactly as you are, loved, held, supported, and trust in that. Yet there are so many people, particularly in high leadership roles, that do not walk by those tenets. They don't even know what that feels like. And we look up to them. We put them on covers of magazines. We celebrate them. We give them awards. They're all over our TVs, our media. And these are not the people we have been called to be. We have been called to be ourselves and be okay with that. Yet that in and of itself takes work. It takes work to know who you are. It takes work to heal those aspects of yourself that you are uncomfortable with. Whether you had a very glorious, glamorous, life, public facing life, or one that's not so public facing. Either way, it's challenging. It's hard. Yet that's the soul journey. The soul journey is that of uncovering and working through and overcoming those challenges. And I am really yeah. Oh, interesting. I'm looking at some of these comments, and one person mentioned I need psychological therapy, realizing some of my leaders are terrible human beings. That's a real statement. I have to tell you that it took me, in some cases, years to accept what I had learned about some of our celebrities and our leaders in this day and time. Because the programming is so conditioned from kids, we really look at TV or media and really take it in as truth. So we really ascribe these noble characteristics to these individuals that we see in public, not at all knowing who the fuck they are. We don't even know these people. We just are seeing a manufactured Kellogg box version of these people on TV. And I really know how hard it is to heal around the idolization or the looking up to or the mimicking of celebrities and leaders. You really want them to be who you see them as. And in many cases, and I want to kind of cry for this, they probably even want to be what they present as, and they can't. They've not properly learned. And that's what I'm here. That's why I'm here. Okay. Where I'm here to help teach us how to walk in that truth. If you're a dancer, if you're an actress, if you're a performer, if you're a business person, if you're a painter, if you're a construction person, if you're an accountant, if you own businesses, walk in that truth. Dress how you want. Love who you want. And be open about it. Love yourself through it. This is who I am. This is how I show up. Of course, people are going to dislike you or disagree with you. I can't tell you how many people talk shit about me. You know what I'm saying? And how much I had to heal around that, knowing that this is my path and this is my walk with myself and with God. I have one source alone to answer to, and that's God and myself. But yet, that takes so much courage. That takes so much strength to be able to walk alone. And that's really part of the healing. Some of the psychological therapy, they see, oh my God, to your point, they are not free. They are not free. So this is also the hook to get us to continue as a mass collective to buy in to the consumption of the capitalism that we're fed. Then none of us are free if we follow slaves. If our leaders are slaves, what does that make the followers of the leaders? Makes us slaves too. So we have to understand the sovereignty of being. Yeah, yeah. And this, I'm just going to read this comment out loud. Really appreciate you. It's been tough processing as an entrepreneur. I thought these were our heroes. Speaking to the leaders, media is such a strong tool. This is really great. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Media is such a strong tool. So why do you think I show up here every goddamn day on social media? You know what I'm saying? What every week on this podcast? No, I don't have a million followers. No, I don't even have 1,000 on my podcast and stuff. But I am showing up here because I understand and understand how powerful media is as a tool. Yet, how many of us are committed enough, consistent enough, and disciplined enough to show up on our media channels every single day, speaking our truth, walking in our truth, displaying our truth, living a lifestyle of our truth? Very few. Very few. So it's interesting that we can actually use this tool that's been weaponized against us to heal the collective. And that's how I view media, a healing tool, a tool that was used against me. I'm now using for my own good. No weapon against me, no weapon formed against me shall ever prosper. Like I'm a living embodiment of that truth. What that which was weaponized against us can absolutely be used for us. And I'm so grateful that that you brought that up, because this is exactly what we've been called to do. And what I've been called to do in speaking to enlightened leaders is, how do we turn around that which was used against us and use it for our good? That's alchemy. Turning base metal to gold, turning bad into good. That's what we've been called to do. And we wouldn't be able to do it had we not fallen down that path, for lack of better words, fallen for these leaders, seen, maybe even experienced the hypocrisy of it all, to come out on the other side wanting to do something different. How beautiful is that? We've been seeing both sides, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light. And that's actually the hero's journey. When you speak about heroes, that is the journey of Heru, that inspired by Heru, the Egyptian deity for which my son is named. That is the hero's journey. Seeing that which was not good and creating something amazing from it. And I just kind of want to begin to wrap it up there, because we're kind of getting close to time. But I'm so grateful you all weighed in with your ideas and your comments and really received this message that I had to say, because I actually was nervous to talk about this today, because I usually don't speak to individuals, and I definitely don't speak to, like big controversial topics like this. Yet, if this resonates with you, certainly let me know. I will be happy to continue to give commentary on issues that I believe we need to see differently, and we need to see more clearly, and more clarity, more consciousness, so that we can continue to move and grow along our enlightened path as leaders, as business leaders, as music executives, whatever it is that you feel called to do, you are able to do it in your authentic truth. And if you want to learn more about my resources and how you can continue to live in your authenticity, especially in business, certainly go to my website, erinpatton.com. I have incredible offerings there, including some things coming up soon that I can't wait to share with you all. But I have keynote speaking, I do strategy work with businesses, I do retreats and special VIP days for leadership teams, and even one-on-one coaching. So certainly come to my website, erinpatton.com, to learn more about my resources. I even have some free resources there for y'all. And in the meantime, like I say, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. And I see you all next week on next episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, aaronpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.